Shadow banning exposed. The Twitter files continue. Here we go.
This video is brought to you by Keeps. Stick around to hear more about their special offer for the entire upper echelon community. Alright, the Twitter files? Yeah, this is no longer a nothing burger. The first installment showcased a series of emails that seemed to indicate some kind of back-channel moderation at Twitter. I have a video about that up on the channel already. I'll link it down below in the description. But the second and third installments? Yeah, now there's dirt.
Because it's not targeted ad. Like, it's not targeted at me just because there's a hair loss ad, okay, guys? Come on. Relax.
Evidence, questions, and in my opinion, it went from, that's intriguing, I'll keep an eye on it, to,
yeah,
oh
what
my
the hell?
god, now there's proof. Quick summary before getting into what's new, because the legacy media is largely ignoring all of this and acting like it doesn't exist, save
what a
few
surprise.
outlets and commentators. Twitter openly invented a reason to censor a story by the New York Post about a laptop belonging to Hunter Biden during the 2020 election cycle. This decision was not rooted in policy or legal precedent. It was purely the result of ideologically driven employees. However, the first data dump in which emails and policy decisions were exposed had a few issues. For starters, it was fairly obvious that the internal structure of Twitter had severe problems to begin with, allowing for...
That's one of the things that I got out of it. I got out of it that, like, yeah, some of these people might be politically motivated, but it was so dumb, and they were doing such a bad job, that even the other Democratic politicians were mad at Twitter because it was so obvious that they were rigging it that it made them look bad.
Content moderation to be dictated by the politics of just whoever happened to be holding the reins at that specific moment in time. According to the very same journalist leaking the initial emails, both political parties enjoyed access to special moderation channels, even if one party enjoyed far greater access as a result of company culture. What I mean by this is that according to every single available public metric, Twitter, both as a corporate entity and a function of individual behavior inside that corporate entity, gave overwhelmingly to support Democratic political candidates. 99% of employee donations, as well as the lion's share of all corporate donations, slanted.
Bro, what happened to all the red? Like, bro, in 2016, goddamn, people were on the Trump train. By 2018, everybody got off. Holy shit. Yeah, look at that, bro. They're just like, yeah, fuck this shit. Like, we're done.
99% of employee donations, as well as the lion's share of all corporate donations, slanted blue,
shit crashed,
especially during the 2020 election cycle in
True.
particular, which reasonably indicates that there are more people inside the company with an inclination, either conscious or subconscious, to support left-leaning policy actions or requests. Once again,
I think that it is a fair, logical conclusion that if you have a lot of people out there who are, everybody at the company has one type of political viewpoint, that type of political viewpoint is going to be reflected more in the website. I think this is common sense, sure.
Referencing a statement made by Jack Dorsey, prior CEO of Twitter.
So it's illegal to donate to a primary party? I don't think that it's illegal. I don't think it's a problem that all of them are... It's not a problem, but whenever there is a question of, like, fairness and censorship, and then you look at the amount of people who are actually, putting any sort of any donations out, and they're all donating to one group of people, then I think that does paint a picture. Absolutely, it does.
Conservatives at the company were afraid to voice their opinions or speak about their views because the culture was overwhelmingly dominated by left-leaning viewpoints. That's a problem by itself. However, the Twitter files have now
I don't really care about this that much. I mean, this is just the company. It's whatever. Like, how has this affected the users?
Given us an entirely new look inside the guts of a prominent social media company, and what we see is pretty insane. The second data dump, in my opinion, is the most interesting, but since the initial reveal, there have been two more threads, one published by a journalist named Barry Weiss and the other by a journalist named Matt Taibbi, which give us a shockingly clear vision of just how bad things had gotten inside Twitter HQ. Thread number 2 is my personal focus for today, more so than the other, though I will of course cover or address thread number 3 because of this quote and this video by Jack Dorsey in front of a congressional committee on shadow banning.
Social media is being rigged to censor conservatives. Is that true of Twitter?
No.
I don't know what Twitter is up to. It sure looks like to me that they're censoring people, and they ought to stop it. Are you saying?
Do you think Mr. Doyle runs his own Twitter account? No. Yeah, me either. this is the problem. Is you have this guy who, if I asked him to explain what a retweet is to me, I don't know if he would be able to do it. You have this guy that is making decisions for everybody. What a massive fucking mistake. It's so disappointing.
Censoring people?
No.
Twitter shadow banning prominent Republicans. Bad. Is that true?
No.
So these were statements made by Kevin McCarthy, the House Majority Leader, on Twitter, Devin Nunes on Fox News, and President Trump on Twitter. And I want to place those statements into the record, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection.
I think it's important for people to understand, the premise of this whole hearing, and the reason that Twitter somehow, with all the other social media platforms out there, got the singular honor to sit in front of this committee, is because there's some implication that your site is trying to censor conservative voices on your platform. Now, when you tried to explain the shadow banning, as I understand it, you had a system where if people who were following people had some behaviors, that was the trigger that caused you to do the shadow banning. So you were really like an equal opportunity shadow banner, right? You didn't just shadow ban 4 conservative Republicans. You shadow banned 600,000 people across your entire platform across the globe who had people following them that had certain behaviors that caused you to downgrade them coming up. Is that correct?
Correct.
So this was never targeted at conservative Republicans. This was targeted to a group of 600,000 people because of the people who followed them. And then you determined that wasn't fair, and you corrected that practice.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
So just for the record, since you've been singled out as a social media platform before this committee, Twitter undertook no behavior to selectively censor conservative Republicans or conservative voices on your platform. Is that correct?
Correct.
Good. So let the record reflect that, because that's the whole reason.
Ooh. Well, that did not age very well. Here we go. Is this old or recent? It doesn't matter.
Supposedly, we're here.
Those are definitive statements. Jack Dorsey maintains that they never censored conservative candidates or political figures because of their beliefs, only because of the behavior that their followers engage in. But the second iteration of the Twitter files, combined with the third, illustrates something else entirely. All right, before going further, this particular sponsor is relevant for men ages 18 to 45. If that's you, and if you suffer from hair loss, try out Keeps.
Yep, there it is. All right, give me 1 second, and I'll read a few of these real quick. Deleting conspiracy stuff is the right to censor them if they're toxic as fuck. It's the right to censor them. There's no, listen, I think that everybody would be okay if they were doing it openly. I think the reason why people are mad about it is the fact that they're doing it and they're saying it's not happening.
Keeps has been a supporter of the channel for a very, very long time, offering a massive 50% order discount to upper echelon community members.
Amazing.
Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any current competitor. You can order and get treated directly from your own home for a fraction of the cost when compared to other products, and they offer generic versions of the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss treatments on the entire market. 2 out of 3 men by age 35 will actually experience hair loss, making this basically an ideal partnership.
What a
surprise. If you click the link down below, you can get 50% off your first order.
It'd suck to be them.
Again, that is a 50% discount on your first order if you click the link down below in the description. Keeps can help prevent, in some cases, actually reverse the process of hair loss. And yes, I do absolutely get paid for this. I am sponsored. But that sponsorship is one of the longest running partnerships for Upper Echelon, allowing me to continue what I do. Again, link down below in the description. Big thank you to Keeps for sponsoring the channel. All right, here we go. According to documents made public by Barry Weiss, Twitter engaged in targeted and very specific blacklisting endeavors, including trend blocking, search blocking, barriers to entry, amplification throttling, and more.
Anybody who used Twitter knew this. All of the time. You would have the trends section over here on the side, and it would have a trend, and it's editorialized to present a certain viewpoint. You would have trends that are being suppressed all the time. This happens constantly. They openly said that this is not a scandal. Yeah, Everybody knows this.
Now, this is where it gets tricky, because in 2018, as reported by Vice News at the time, surprisingly, Twitter displayed open search blacklisting for specific Republican political candidates. Documented and proven, Republican lawmakers like Matt Gaetz, Tom Perez, or Ronna McDaniel simply didn't show up in Twitter search results, even when typing their exact full name in the bar. In response, Twitter's head legal representative Vijaya Gadde, in a blog post attempting to clarify what was happening, titled "Setting the Record Straight on Shadow Banning," said, quote, "People are asking us if we shadow ban. We do not. But let's start with what is shadow banning. The best definition we found is this: deliberately making someone's content undiscoverable to everyone except the person who posted it, unbeknownst to the original poster. We do not shadow ban. You are always able to see the tweets from accounts you follow, although you may have to do more work to find them, like go directly to their profile, and we certainly don't shadow ban based on political viewpoints or ideology." End quote.
Well, there we go. Yeah, define shadow ban. It's just, I mean, come on, guys. Come on.
That right there, that's an extremely skilled deflection.
The reason why people care, somebody asked, like, why do people care so much about social media? Every single politician in the world would not have social media if social media was not massively influential and important. They wouldn't all be using social media if it was not massively effective. It is the largest tool to publish a message across a large audience of people that exists in the entire world. So yes, 100% social media is massively fucking important. It is tremendously important. It is probably, I would say social media, I think a big reason why Obama got elected the first time, so you guys might not remember this because this is like 2008 shit, but like Obama was like massive on social media. He was like one of the first candidates and like the first political candidates that came out, and everybody fucking loved Obama on social media. And I think that was a big reason why he got elected the first time. Yeah, he started the trend. Yeah, it wasn't Donald Trump, it was Obama. And then obviously the same thing happened with Donald Trump a little bit more afterwards. He was huge on Twitter. Yeah, he was. He was massive on Twitter.
What you want about her as an individual,
thanks, Obama.
She is highly intelligent. And it's meant to relegate the term shadow banning to a singular definition where the user's content is invisible to anyone but themselves. That's an acceptable definition to use if you want to, of course, but it certainly isn't the only definition.
What he's saying is that she is redefining shadow banning in a way that is, like, it is technically not what they do, but they do, however, do something that does restrict the amount of access that people have to the content. Yeah, she's making a very narrow definition of it, so she can say, oh, well, we don't do that because I narrowly defined it in this small way.
Listing someone from the search function, removing their ability to be placed on the trending page, or otherwise throttling specific aspects of their content on the platform for specific reasons is also a type of shadow banning. And in order to continue getting away with such behavior, Twitter executives appeared to play a bit of a word game, pretending that unless a user was invisible to everyone but themselves,
they're not
which
being shadow
basically no one was, it wasn't a shadow ban. In reality, Twitter extensively engaged in the practice of shadow banning. They merely did so under the guise of a specific de-amplification action. Those actions equate to a shadow ban in every legitimate sense of the phrase, but when reclassifying the definition to be something overly specific and far-reaching, Twitter was able to defend itself by saying, no, we do not shadow ban, because their version of
because they defined it in a narrow way, and the narrow way that they defined it in is not technically what they're doing. Yes.
This was something they legitimately, truthfully, were not doing. Hopefully that makes sense. Here's the thing. Twitter's head of trust and safety, Yoel Roth, can now be seen in direct engagements stating that they got Jack on board, former CEO Jack Dorsey, with implementing more suppression techniques short-term, but that they would need to make a more robust case to get this into their repertoire of policy remediations for the long term. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think that Twitter really kind of went off the deep end whenever they tried to legislate, what they think the world should be like. Like, oh, you shouldn't be allowed to say that COVID isn't real. You shouldn't be allowed to say the election is fake, stuff like that. I think that's whenever things really went off the rails. Like, they went publisher versus platform, absolutely. It was way too much.
It means that the internal dynamics of Twitter were such that executives were pursuing...
The problem is, like, whenever you open up that can of worms, there's always more worms. There's always something else. And if you create a precedent that you're going to edit things and you're going to change the visibility of things based off of if you think they should be shown or not, then everybody is going to get mad after that you're not doing this for something else. But when does the free speech come in? Well, I mean, they are a private company, right? And so they can do what they want. But at the same time, you can call it what it is as well. Stupid take, your Republican Nazis are abusing free speech anyway? Well, if you think that, like, my Republican Nazis, why am I even reading this comment? Why was I even considering responding to it? You're just banned. Yeah, you're just immediately banned. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking even beginning to actually have a response to that. No.
Actions to bolster their own ability to censor, shadow ban, and throttle on the platform, aiming to use this at their sole discretion, even when those decisions circumvented existing company policy or caused widespread backlash.
Oh, yeah.
AKA the laptop story, which was censored
made them
because
look
of Twitter's
really bad.
hacked materials policy, seemingly without the knowledge of CEO Jack Dorsey, when that policy did not actually apply to the matter in question. Now, to be clear, the internet is filling up with everyone's opinion on these revelations by the minute. So here's my personal, opinionated viewpoint. Everyone already knew what was happening here, to some degree. We just didn't have concrete proof. Twitter executives could lie to Congress or make up whatever they wanted in blog posts, and we had no way to refute their claims. But now we do. This kind of behavior is
I think it would also be, I think that in general it is fair to assume that all other social media companies probably do some variation or some degree of this as well. Whenever you have this much power and no accountability for that power, there has never been a single case in history where this was a good thing.
Publishers do, not platforms. Twitter, as a social media platform, enjoys the protection of something called Section 230, which shields them from liability based on what users post. However, if Twitter is selectively determining who to censor or shadow ban, they are then picking and choosing what is published on their platform, or rather, what gains traction on their platform, making them a publisher, not an impartial platform. These revelations make it clear.
And that's the reason why these companies are so worried about having this stuff come out. Is because if it comes out and it shows that they've actually been taking efforts of their own to try to, like, edit things in a certain way, then it's immediately GG for them because they forego all of those protections as a platform. Like, for example, that means that they are no longer, they no longer indemnify themselves from, like, copyrighted content on their platform. They are not responsible for the content that's on their platform because they are not editing and managing it. But to the extent that they do edit and manage it, it makes them responsible in the eyes of the government. So one heck of a bias take in this video. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Twitter, I think that this is a massive fucking issue. As somebody who uses social media, I've grown up on the internet. I think that social media censorship and the way that these different companies like fucking will shut people down and ban people and there's no sort of accountability for it, I think this is a massive fucking issue. It is a huge problem. It was a huge problem again. Like, I say this all the time because people, I think that a lot of conservatives forget this. Conservatives did this same shit with the Iraq War. They just didn't have social media to do it, but they would censor opinions on the Iraq War constantly. And it was just as bad then as it is now. It's horrible. And yes, social media is incredibly fucking important. It is massively important. If it wasn't, every politician in the Western world wouldn't have social media.
In my humble opinion, that Twitter did not deserve protection as a result of Section 230 under its previous leadership, because decisions were being made on a near constant basis to control what was posted, shared, seen, or searched for.
No surprise.
Loss of that protection would have fundamentally crippled the platform, probably destroyed it, actually, and now, of course, the dynamic has changed dramatically, but if Twitter was engaging in publisher behavior, what other social media companies are doing the exact same thing right now?
All of them.
Now. Truthfully,
I would assume every single one of them is doing this.
Probably most of them. But we don't have the concrete documentation for others. We only have it for Twitter, meaning that the issue will likely die off fast in the public eye. But
as I said, and the reason why I think this is, like, again, There has never been a single instance in history where people that have massive amounts of power that is not accountable to anyone. There has never been a circumstance where this was good.
Me, that is the most intriguing thing about all of this, and that should be something we definitely focus on. That's just the second installment, which I do find to be the most hard-hitting as of right now, but the third one, that also has important information.
Okay, here we go.
Turns out that Twitter was in regular meetings with the FBI, DHS, DNI, probably most other government agencies as well, as they curbed the spread of misinformation. A lot of this is actually worthless, like how Twitter executive Yoel Roth canceled his FBI and DHS weekly meetings one time because he had to take a call with Apple and stop Twitter from being kicked off the App Store, which really is a nothing burger and shouldn't even...
I think that's a massive fucking thing. If Apple if Apple has such a massive market share of everybody who uses smartphones, and smartphones are such a prevalent thing in culture nowadays, and they have a they have a monopoly on being able to decide if something is or is not on the App Store, bro, that's a fucking monopoly. Like, I don't know how the FTC doesn't see this. It's insane. It's so bad that they can just kick something off the App Store with no accountability at all.
Even have been in the Twitter files, in my opinion, to be honest, but other parts are much more interesting. According to Yoel Roth, once again, he and Vijaya Gadde appear to be the nexus of corruption here, of sorts.
And also, I want to keep in mind, because some people will not care about this or think that it's a private company. This is a viewpoint that I have, and I feel pretty strongly about this. Every single company, if it is operating at the detriment of the public, should not exist. So if the company is operating in a way that makes average people's lives worse, the company should not be able to exist in that way. And I think that with monopolies, and this is true, like, by the way, this is literally what all the company and, like, corporate laws are. Every corporate law, every company law is in this, it is in this same viewpoint.
Twitter had, quote, blocked the New York Post story, then unblocked it, but said the opposite, then said they unblocked it, and thus ended up in a messy situation where their policies were in shambles, comms was angry, reporters thought they were idiots, and they were refactoring an exceedingly complex policy 18 days out from the election, end quote. Basically, these files in conjunction with one another show that Twitter was being run by a team of executives who would repurpose or reframe policies at will, unilaterally, just to censor or ban things that they deemed to be problematic, then justifying the actions later by reworking policies, playing semantic games, or flat out lying. The Twitter files now showcase the messy reality of a massive social media company's internal politics. We all knew it would be messy if we ever got to see inside. We all knew that suspect dealings and personal agendas were absolutely an issue, as they are and would be in almost any major corporate entity.
Yeah, sure.
But this is worse than most people likely thought, and certainly bad enough to warrant front page coverage on most legacy media outlets. And yet,
I don't think it's that bad. Like, I think it's very bad in some ways, but I don't think it is really that bad. Like, nothing has come out that is, like, super, super, super bad. Like, I'm saying, like, I think that there's going to be a lot more of this shit that comes out, and the stuff that eventually comes out is going to be a lot worse than this. Because there is nobody that's really admitting that they are doing it with any sort of a bias. They're not admitting or saying that they're doing any of this stuff, like, intentionally. It's just kind of more like implications, and it can be, a lot of it can be played off as if it's just bad management. They also aren't releasing the raw files. You have to believe the reporters picked by Musk. That's true.
realistically, there's almost nothing. It's not a massive smoking gun. It's not impeachment material
exactly.
or something like that. And it doesn't tear down the establishment narrative or government completely.
I think that the worst part about this is the fact that that senator, because the way that this senator or whatever, that this fucking, you know, that this guy here, I don't know what his name was again. I forgot. The way that he asked the questions was very all-encompassing. Like, because he asked them like 3 different ways. I can't see how Jack wasn't lying. Yeah, Mr. Boomer. I really can't see how he wasn't lying. And I can't see a universe where lying in front of a congressional council is not a big problem.
There are real problems being exposed here, and real actions are necessary to fix things.
Yeah.
Think about it this way. What happened to Twitter was perhaps a standard social media internal politics situation,
Yeah.
which is likely happening elsewhere in the industry right now as well.
It happens everywhere. Like, how many of you guys have fucking office politics? Every place has this, because this is how people are.
Just different
Just how it
flavors.
goes.
But rather than one side defending the actions or refusing to acknowledge them because it would damage the side that they support, we need unity in the condemnation of these actions on principle. Imagine if Elon Musk, rather than releasing this information, even if that release is possibly slanted, simply extended the policies into a new corporate governance structure where his chosen executives executed the exact same tactics, merely just aimed at different people. If that happened, the outrage would be historic, and
of
rightly
course.
so. Why then should we not condemn the idea of a social media giant ignoring the rules that they should be accountable under because those infractions just happen to damage the people that we dislike right now? Answer:
That's a huge problem. Yeah, people that just ignore the rules whenever they're beneficial towards them.
we obviously shouldn't ignore it, but sadly, many people will
Yep.
and are. Bottom line, the second and third installments of the Twitter files are far more interesting than the first. But
I agree
in
with that.
conjunction, they give us perhaps a once-in-a-lifetime view of just how much of our digital lives have changed or are being changed and controlled by a couple of executives at a tech
Well,
firm.
I think also one part that this video kind of glossed over is the fact that Twitter was talking with the FBI and shit constantly. Like, I feel like that's kind of like a really big deal. That, like, Twitter's constantly, like, fucking collaborating with the FBI on what to remove and not to remove. Yeah, that's huge.
Censoring politicians, suspending or throttling down Twitter accounts for the sitting president, not Trump's personal Twitter, mind you, I actually forgot this part, the POTUS Twitter account or the White House Twitter account. These actions are enormous. They're talking about throttling those or suppressing them because
Yeah.
it's ban evasion on Trump's part. I mean, it's crazy stuff. And I mean, it allows a couple of highly partisan executives to affect American politics. I mean, to what degree you want to argue is
Yep.
subjective, right? You can say, oh, they affected American politics a lot or a little, but they did affect American politics by way of policy enforcement on a social media platform.
Absolutely.
In my eyes, the Twitter files are a once-in-a-lifetime window into the dark soul of a corporate, tech-centered nation.
This
now.
is anybody who actually didn't think this was happening is so stupid. Of course it's happening. If you have that much power, of course you're going to use it.
Where we all kind of know what's going on, but most of us deliberately pretend not to know for lack of
Yeah.
evidence. Well, now we're getting some evidence. So, what a time to be alive. If you want to support, please check out the links down below. Patreon and locals, of course, monthly subscription, merch, social media, etc., etc. My main Twitter account is banned. I don't know if I'll ever get that back. I hope I will, but we'll see.
Yeah, whatever
As well as
happened to
video
all the
sponsor keeps,
unbans?
of course, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching,
It's a good video.
and have a nice night.
Yeah, I wanted to watch this just to kind of see what his take on it was, and I hadn't talked about a lot of the parts of the Twitter files, etc. yet. So I wanted to go ahead and pull all this up and look at it. I heard most all VPNs allow government access. Governments have free access to their users. Think that's true? Should VPNs have access to? Should the government have access to the VPNs? I think that the government should have access to VPNs in certain circumstances. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't even see how that's a question. Yeah, it's not even a question, of course. Not without a warrant. Totally agree with you there, too. Yeah, no. What about child porn? You don't think somebody should be able to, you know, like, you don't think the government should be able to find out who's publishing child porn with a VPN? No. I think that they should. I think that's more important. Yeah, no, bro, like, there is a line. There is, with a warrant, absolutely. I'm not saying that they should just be able to do it willy-nilly, okay? But, like, there should be a way that every VPN company needs to be accountable to a government. Absolutely. Yeah, of course. And they've shut it down. They couldn't globally ban it. No, they could not globally ban it, but they could prosecute and go after people more easily if they had more information about them. Yeah, it's common sense. It's already like that? Yes, it is. I think that a lot of VPNs do cooperate with companies on that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think that you guys are right whenever we're talking about, like, just randomly having access to it. No, I don't agree with that either. But yeah, if logs are saved, VPNs become obsolete. Well, I do agree. Expecting companies to act in the people's will over profits just isn't going to happen. It happens all the time. That's what laws are for. You have to understand that, like, if we didn't have any safety laws, do you think that food and, like, bicycles would be sold in the same way? No. The reason why we have the safety laws and, like, all the food laws and regulations is because the companies have to act in the best benefit of the consumer. That's the way our chat lives in a perfect world. Well, it just doesn't work that way. Yeah, I think that a lot of times people, this is one issue that I do have with a lot of the, there are a lot of people that are kind of like, I guess you could say like Republican, like conservative, like libertarian types, that like anytime that you call for regulation on something, they act like you just asked for like fucking you just asked for communism to come back. Like, boom, bro, like communism, nobody makes any money, everybody works for the government. It's like straight 1984. But the truth is, like, everything that we have is regulated. YouTube is regulated. Your internet right now that you're using is regulated. The website that you're using, Amazon, Twitch, this is also regulated. The keyboard that you're buying was regulated. There are regulations on selling electronic products. Every single thing that you have is a product of regulation. And if it didn't have regulation, the product that you would be using is a lot different. So yeah, people just don't fucking understand this. It's so weird. I don't know why. Anyway, let's go back over. We're going to look at it. This is a great video. I love talking about this stuff. I think it's very interesting. But yeah, I think it's the harder they make it. The harder they make things that people shouldn't be doing, the harder it is to make those, to catch those, those who are doing things they're not supposed to be. Well, yeah, I mean, of course, that's the way it works. We also would have nuclear power fusion all of our lives if the hippies didn't complain. Yeah, I've been of the same mind. I've heard a lot of positive things about nuclear power, but I am not even close to educated enough to have an actual opinion on that. So I would never really talk about that, like in any sort of a serious way. Yeah, I just don't know. So yes, chat being stupid? Yes, of course. Yeah, I think that the people that are being stupid in chat are probably saying, yeah, chat's being stupid.